Hi, this is Grady Wulff from Graph, live at the ASAs, and lucky to be joined by Roger Montgomery from Montgomery Investment Management. Now, first of all, can we talk about the Australian markets? Where do you see it going for the rest of the 6 months of the year?
I'm bullish, basically, notwithstanding the fact that if inflation emerges, you could see a drop in the market. But I think in that scenario, the growth stocks are hit much harder than high quality staples, cyclicals, and what we call the stable compounders. So the market could come off, but not as much as the growth end. I call them the profitless prosperity stocks. So they're companies that are likely to make money or expected to make money in the distant future, but they're not making money now. In the emergence, if inflation emerges, they're hit the hardest. So notwithstanding that, I'm very bullish because I think longer term we're going to see lower rates and lower inflation.
And speaking of those kind of stocks, Afterpay, you mentioned it last night at the ASO's gala dinner. Why are you not such a fan of these buy now, pay later stocks?
Well, they're growing their top line really strongly. But I think what the market misses is that in order to grow their book, they have to raise capital or borrow money. They can't do it organically. And once they've grown to the extent they possibly can, they're really a very low margin business, and so they're a factoring business really. A factoring business buys a company's debtors and then goes and collects from the debtors and pays a discount for them, and that's exactly what Afterpay does. It's a factoring business, which is a low margin business, and it needs to raise capital or borrow money to grow. So for us, it just doesn't meet our quality hurdles.
Absolutely. In the Australian property market, we know prices are surging. How far can it go and where do you see it going?
I don't know how far it can go, but I know it's not going to go down a lot. So anyone who's holding back, waiting for a correction, they'll be waiting a very long time. There's too much incentive on the part of government, APRA, the Reserve Bank and banks to prevent property prices falling. We saw that last year when we had millions of people out of work. A very large portion of those people couldn't afford to pay their mortgage. And did the banks hoover up those properties and dump them on the market? No, they didn't. They gave everyone a holiday. And that's a sign for people, that's a really obvious sign that it is not in the bank's interest to see property prices fall. So I don't know how far they're going to keep going up, but I don't believe they're going to fall a lot.
And now there's a lot of new retail investors who are jumping into the market, some knowing things, some not knowing things.
Yes.
What's your best advice for young or just new investors in general?
There's a book called Valuable, and you should buy that book and read it before you buy any shares so that you understand the difference between investing and speculating. Now, I wrote that book about 10 years ago and it became a bestseller and it's still available online. So get yourself a copy of that. I wrote that for my kids. So if anything ever happened to me, they would know how to invest. And that's what it's all about.
Well, thank you for your time today, Roger. We've really enjoyed it, and everyone go buy the book.